Hello, how are you? Today I'm going to talk to you about bone broth, marrow broth, oxtail broth. A lot of people have many questions about this and sometimes ask me here in the comments if it's really miraculous, how to prepare it, if it's really good for the skin, for the nails, for the joints. What else is it good for? What nutrients can we get from it? How do you make it the right way? Stick around until the end because I'm going to explain all of this to you. First of all, if you're new here, welcome. Take a moment to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. I have new videos every day, new recipes every day. You're going to love them. This whole thing about bone broth, let's just call it bone broth, since you already know what it is. It can be from cow's feet, it can be from marrow bones, it's all included. Recently, bone broth has become very popular, but actually, this goes all the way back to prehistoric times, to our ancestors. Because they started making bone broth to get more nutrients, more vitamins, more food in general, to get more satisfaction from the rest of the animal carcass they hunted, that they managed to bring down in those early times. So it was a way for them to achieve sustainability back then and use every part of the animal. After all, bone broth is very filling because it's rich in collagen, high in protein, and high in fat, depending on the type of bone you use, the type of carcass you use, so it really sustains you. It keeps you feeling full for longer, so it makes perfect sense for us to talk about it because it's truly an ancestral food and it has many health benefits. So actually, what are the benefits? What nutrients can you get from bone broth? Bone broth is rich in calcium because in fact calcium is present in the bone itself, generally speaking, and you can extract it by boiling the bones for some time. I'll explain to you later how many hours you need to boil the bones to get the most benefits from this preparation, from this food. But you can get a large amount of calcium from it. If you boil bones that contain marrow, like in the case of bone marrow, for example, you get various vitamins and several different minerals. You also get collagen because it's found in the animal's joints that you boiled, and it will dissolve there. So it really is a very nutritious food for us to consume, and as I mentioned, it also provides a lot of satiety. I want to remind you that I have videos here on the channel talking more about collagen, recipes with collagen that you can make to add more collagen to your daily routine, not just through bone broth. A really cool detail to mention is that bone broth, if you make it with the whole carcass, including the joints, you also get glucosamine and chondroitin, which are very interesting nutrients for joint and cartilage health. So if you're looking for better health when it comes to your bones and joints, it makes perfect sense for you to consume bone broth. But since it's super rich in collagen, it also really helps with your skin, nails, and hair. Because in fact, you'll be consuming more collagen to get all these benefits. I have a video here talking more about collagen, and I have other recipes as well. They'll be down below in the description. Maybe you're wondering what kind of bone you need to use to make the broth, if there's a specific animal, a specific part of the bone, if the bone needs to be raw to make the broth, if you have to ask for it at the butcher's. Not necessarily. You can either ask for it at the butcher shop. Sometimes they'll even give it to you or sell it much cheaper. Pieces of bone they would otherwise throw away, because bone is usually a byproduct. Most people don't do anything with the bone and in fact just throw it away. You can use raw bones, you can use fish bones, including the fish spine. You can use the bones from a chicken that's left over after you've roasted it. You can use those bones too. There are even many people who freeze bones to prepare delicious and nourishing bone broth later on. And in this particular case, ideally, you should always use bones that you've already cut in a very hygienic and proper way. Because, and this is an interesting detail, if you eat the bone with your hands or mouth and put it on your plate, leave it there for hours, and then store it, bacteria can proliferate. That's not ideal. So if you're going to use the bone from a roasted chicken, for example, debone the chicken on the plate, save the bone, freeze it, or use it the same day to make your broth. Remember once again that it can be beef, veal, lamb, chicken, turkey, fish, any animal that has bones and connective tissue you can use to make broth. An interesting detail is that if you're going to save bones from chicken, turkey, or other meats, it's best to keep the bones and joints, since they're especially rich in collagen, glucosamine, and chondroitin. The skin, on the other hand, is much higher in fat than in these compounds, so many people choose to discard it if they want a leaner broth. It will leave that layer of fat on top of your broth, which is not what you want. An interesting tip for preparing your broth is that it should be cooked slowly at a lower temperature, and it's also important to add some type of acid to help extract and dissolve more effectively those valuable compounds, glucosamine, chondroitin, and collagen. A really good suggestion I have for you is to add apple cider vinegar when preparing the broth, as it will help break down those larger protein blocks, making them more available to be released from the bones and joints. You can saute it. Some people like to add garlic, onion, bay leaf, aromatic herbs, and make it like a bone broth. And there are others who prefer to make it basically just with the bones themselves. It's up to you, as long as you add the acid. Use apple cider vinegar, which brings you even more benefits, including for insulin resistance. I also have a video here talking about it. I'll leave it down below in the description. Ideally, you should cook the bone broth for at least 4 hours. Some people let it cook for 20 hours on very low heat, adding plenty of water. You might think that 4 hours on the stove is a long time and uses a lot of gas. Remember that you can make a really large batch and freeze it in ice cube trays. Just set aside a tray specifically for this so your ice doesn't end up tasting like chicken. So buy an ice cube tray just for this purpose. You can freeze it in portions and you'll be able to consume it every day much more easily. There are people who have joint problems, arthritis or arthrosis, and they usually consume it every day, almost like a natural remedy. So that's an option for you. Another option is to make it in a pressure cooker if you're in a hurry, but some people believe that the slow cooking process helps release more nutrients from the bones. There still aren't any scientific studies that say one way or the other, so really just do whatever works for your routine and your life, because it's better to make it in a pressure cooker, if that's your only option, than not to make it at all. So if you can, cook it on low heat for a longer time, but if not, just use the pressure cooker, because honestly, it's a very nutritious and affordable food. Strain it after it's prepared to separate the solids from the liquid, then put it in containers or in an ice cube tray, like I mentioned before. In containers in the fridge, it lasts about 5 days on average. In the freezer, 3 months. Label it with the date. And if you put it into various containers or even individual ice cube trays, instead of using those commercially store-bought bouillon cubes or pre-made, ready-to-use seasonings, you can effectively utilize your very own homemade bone broth, which is inherently natural and significantly better than the highly industrialized ones. Also remember that you can add natural seasonings to it. I even have videos here on the channel about natural seasonings. If you want to spice it up, add more spices, or give it a different flavor, you can do that too. Let me know down below if you've ever made bone broth, if you have any special recipes, or what benefits you noticed from using it. I would love to see your comment. Give the video a like because that helps me a lot, and share it with anyone who might need it. Let's work together to spread this chain of good, which is what I want most for this channel. See you next time. Bye.